Right. Yeah. So I was saying that it says about the 7 session anyway. It's not a very long course. Today, of course, sees the start of chapter 2. And chapter 2 is just about 2 sessions long. It used to be one, but then, we normally, like before the pandemic then, right? Classes used to be whole day on a Saturday. Right now it's just about a hour and a half, 2 hours at the most in some classes anyway. Right. But in 2 weeks then, right? Which next week will be the 1st of June, I think, right? And the other week will be chapter 3. And that's how short it is, right? You all are April, May, June, July. So your exam is in August, right? And of course that's a good thing because I was saying that you get a chance then to actually get the qualification in a short space of time, right? Okay, so I think we should start. I just waiting and see 1 or 2 questions running in. Anybody has any questions? So there would be some class assignments. The Zoom is doing some sort of strange thing this morning. Normally I'm able to see the persons that come in right on the screen and you can admit them there. For some reason they're not okay, so now I saw it, right? But then I'm not getting to admit them on the screen, right? I have to go back into another screen to admit them, right? All right. So do you all have any questions? Do you all have any concerns? If so let me know, and if not, we can start chapter 2. All right, so we start in chapter 2, right? So if you have your books, let's kind of get those out. Right. As I was saying, I mean, thank God it's not a whole day, right? NEBOSH before the pandemic, classes would be whole day on a Saturday. Right. So if you have your books, chapter 2, but every chapter starts over the management textbook. NG1, right? So so every chapter starts over the content. So if you go to chapter 2, you're gonna get like, page 1 of 2 and that sort of thing, right? But what you want to get to, you want to get ready to probably page 3 of 2, right? I mean, and that's like where the good stuff start because page 1 of 2 is just a pity, right? Page 1 of 2 is just that. There's really no content there anyway. Right? And the other page is actually a kind of blank page as well. So there's no, and that's actually page 2 of 2, right? So when I kind of get to page 3 of 2, and that's not really even much content there. The real content probably starts on page 4, 5 going there, right? So let's make a start. Feel free again, like I said, to ask questions as we go along. And also at the end of the session today, like tonight, then I would be emailing you all a class assignment, right? Because I think the problem with last week class on negligence was that remember there wasn't any past paper questions. So good stuff in terms of how to prove a case, you or your lawyer, and good stuff in terms of the defenses of the employer, but really no exam questions that kind of relate to. If there is one, June has an exam, right? So if there is one, June would have an exam, and then possibly July. But the history then will say that it doesn't have past papers, right? Again, I'm trying to admit somebody, so that is the break-in thought pattern there anyway, right? It's kind of vital like that you all come in on time. Sometimes when I start teaching, I wouldn't even have time to those on the outside there, right? So I think that's what I'll do, right? And so it's important to try to log in. A lot of us were here since 10 to 8 anyway. All right. Okay, so let's go, right? So the first, well, if you look at 2.1, you're gonna see uh occupation and health and safety management systems. And if you look at this bit here, some of you all may be familiar, some of you all may recognize some of those numbers. Any of those numbers look familiar to anybody?
Yeah, the ISO 9001.
Right, very good. So that's a that's a quality management system. You have anybody else? Anything else look familiar? You have 14,001. That's environmental. Not a lot of companies in Trinidad have it, and of course, anybody in Guyana here as well. ISO is very popular in Guyana, or more popular in Guyana, and really it should be. ISO is a worldwide standard, so it should be, right? And then we have 45,001, which is on the left-hand side, and this is actually the safety management system, right? ISO 45,001 is actually safety, right? And so like the bulk of today's work then would be on that. But really, that is actually to the last. If you check the book too, that's like the last thing they actually introduced, right? So even though I say the bulk of it, I think the bulk of it because there are some past papers that have come. There are about 2 or 3 past papers that have come on 45,001, right? All right. So I'm gonna do it as if you all are beginners, right? So like for beginners, um, we are looking at the health and safety management system today, and we're gonna take that like from a ground level perspective, right? So a part of a management system that everyone may be familiar with, even if you're not familiar with the rest of them, is the policy, right? If you have gone to most companies, I guess even like a service-oriented company, if you have gone to TN or in Guyana Power and Light, if you have gone to like, Digicel, give me a minute, these people are coming in still, and I said it's not, on the screen, normally you can just hit the admit button, but it's not doing that. I have to, like it's going into another window, and then from there I have to admit them, right? So normally I could have kept the conversation going and do that at the same time, but it doesn't seem to be that way. I'm not getting the admin button on the screen, right? I have to kind of click it and open another window. Anyway, right? So yeah, I was saying so like most companies you go to, sometimes if you look at the back of them, anybody could say what you'll see. Like most companies, sometimes you drive up to a company, you see something like behind the receptionist. Some companies have it, they have like a board, a digital board by the road. Not all companies have that though, right? But a lot of people have things on their coverall. Like what are those things you can see on somebody coverall in front of TN Tech, in front of Flow, Digital, Guyana, Power and Light? A lot of companies, as you go to them, it's on the wall, it's kind of laminated, it's painted on. What is that thing do you see?
You see policies, you see the HSE policy, you see the management systems.
Right. Anybody else want to give it a try? Have you not been to TN Tech? This is those of us in Trinidad or Flow. It's actually right there. It's right. I mean, I know most people pay online now anyway, right? But you must have been there at least one point in time. So you normally see. So so we had policies, but is it policies or is it just one policy? I was trying to get something out to you all. Anybody else that you have never been to a company? Like those of
Like
us
their
who work,
slogan.
yeah, like a slogan, right? And so that's what it is. And so like even if it's not, like I didn't restrict you all to safety companies. I was just talking all companies. Like all companies, if you go to them, you'll find like they have like like even the people with the
Safety is
coverall.
priority one.
Yeah, what are some things what are some things written on somebody coverall?
I
Like
would
what
say
is that?
safety is priority one.
Very good. Safety is my first priority, right? So like what you find, right, is that, and I'm not just talking about industrial companies. What a lot of companies have, they have like I'm trying to get a word out to you all, right? But the safety number one is like one of it, right? Is like the vision of the company. Like have you not gone anywhere and you saw like the vision of the company, the mission of the company? Tell me what you think, yes or no? Have you all seen that? Like you go to a company, but Flow have it. Flow is the, one of the internet providers here and cable providers. Remember these recordings go on YouTube, right? So it could be for anybody. So at the front of most companies, you see like the vision of the company and the mission of the company. So what the safety policy is that I don't know if you want to write that down. The safety policy is the vision of the company for safety. right? So if you go back to TNTech, Guyana Power and Light, TNTech is on the left-hand side, fluids on the front of the building, well, the front where you're going to the cashier, right? But a lot of companies would actually have like a tagline then, like safety is my first priority. And what that is, remember I was trying to tell you, the policy is like the vision of the company for safety. So we had somebody said that one of those visions, and another word for vision, if you want, I'll write it here for you now. So you can write these things down, and these things are going to help you a lot. Like another word for vision is the goal of the company. What is the goal of the company for health and safety? Right? What's the aim of the company? So all of these are like saying the same thing. And what's the aim of the company for health and safety? What's the vision for health and safety? And we already had one. An example of this is like safety is my first. I'm not too sure why to tell you this computer using does write so big because the other keypads don't do that, right? So safety is my first priority, right? But have you all seen any others? Have you all seen any other? This is taking so long to do, right? Priority, for those of us who spelling it, right? I'm gonna try to spell it out here for you. So safety is my first priority. But have you all seen any other? Some of you all are safeties here. So what is your safety vision for your company? In other words, what is your safety policy for your company? Because the vision, that's us telling you, the safety policy is the vision. It is
It's
the
like
goal.
it's like it's like
Yeah.
zero accidents, zero incidents, accidents as the case may be.
Okay.
Zero tolerance policy as the case.
It
I'm
sounds
breaking up.
okay. It sounds like the policy, but it sounds like you don't know your policy either. It's okay because a lot of workers don't. It sounds
Zero
like okay,
incidents and accidents.
yeah, yeah. So that's a nice one. I don't know if you want to, so you want to write down about three. Look, at already have one on this slide, right? So safety is my first priority. We're gonna go with Dara zone as much as it may not be the full one, but it is in itself is a nice one, which is zero accidents, zero incidents. Anybody have another one? Anybody working in? It doesn't even have to be a safety company because look, Flow and T and Tech and stuff, they have these things. So like, anybody know another one? So write down about three.
At work here, we just go by nobody gets hurt.
Very
Nobody
good.
gets hurt.
Very good, right? Very good, Vincent, right? Again, always good to see Vincent. Vincent, I would be for those of us who are in here, remember there's in June month, I would not be in Trinidad for about 2 weeks, right? So we wouldn't have any classes. However, I would be seeing Vincent and them because I will be heading to Guyana, right? I'll let you know the date, but the day is already fixed, right? But I think for you all it's one Saturday. I think my process safety students on a Sunday, I'll be missing 2 Sundays, but for you all, the 30th of June, from the 23rd of June to the somewhere in July, I am in Guyana, right? But I think the 30th of June falls between that trip, right? So that Saturday wouldn't have any classes. I would be in Guyana and I would actually be teaching. However, it wouldn't be you that I'm teaching. So it wouldn't be the same class. It's another class and it's a starter class. So you all would not be able to join in, right? It is, that. And also I'm seeing Sirima over there, right, as well in Guyana, right? All right. Yeah, so nobody gets hurt. That's a nice one. So please take it down. So you understand, like when we talk about safety management system, look back at your book, right? And I'll probably ask you to turn your page now. You want to turn your page now? If you wonder why we're talking about policy, right? If you're on page, is it 3? And they introduce safety management systems. If we look at page 4, at least in my book, right? You would see this. And this is like one of the safety management systems they have there. But when I say there, in the UK, right? And the first thing in the management system is plan. But what do you plan? What's that word? What do you plan?
Policy.
Anybody? The policy. So that's why we're talking about the policy, because the policy is the first part of the safety management system. So what we have learned so far, and I hope you're taking notes, is that the policy, this is what we have learned without even reading a slide, right? The policy is something that could be seen It is displayed. It is displayed on people's coveralls. It is something that is laminated. It's through the companies. Everybody who come in can see it. So the policy is something that can be seen. And the policy is the first part. In other words, then, I think there's an old saying for this. I guess if I say the old saying, I guess you'll understand it, right? The old saying is that, you know that old saying, without a vision, the people will perish, right? So without a vision, the people will perish. So the policy, if you want to set up a management system, the policy is like, what is your goal and what is your mantra? What is your vision for safety? And if you say nobody gets hurt, if you say safety is my first priority, well then that is the first part of a management system, right? Okay, anybody have another one? Anybody know one? I feel you'll know another one. Give me one more because I told I was gonna give you three. Give me one more. Anybody else working? Anybody else? Because I had one from Guyana. Anybody else working here? All right, so I'll give you one. I'll give you one to make it three so that you understand it. So I wanted to understand what a management system is. The management system guides the company. It's the vision of the company. It starts off though with a vision statement. However, it's not a profit statement. It's not like a business statement. It's like a safety statement saying safety is my first priority. Or, as how Vincent said in Guyana, nobody gets hurt, right? So take this one down. I'm not going to write it for you. You see the AC with the marker, right? The marker is writing extremely big. And plus, you all are all adults. You all could write one line. It's not as if it's 100 lines are calling for you, right? So one of the good ones I know from BP and Atlantic LNG is, and you can take this down, is we will do the work safely. We will do the work safely. Anybody know the end of that?
Or not do it at all?
Right, or not at all, right? So we will do the work safely or not at all, right? When you finish writing that, I'll read this slide and I wanted to see how this slide makes sense. So seeing that you know what the policy is, the policy is like a vision statement. I hope you write that down, eh? Right? The policy is like a vision statement, but it's like a vision statement for safety. Therefore, when you go to Flow or you go to a company, you'd see a lot of people, they have it like in front of the company laminated. And it will say something like, we at Damas Oil are going to provide a safe place of work. Flow will have it as, we are going to provide safe access and egress. It's like a vision statement, like what they're willing to provide. Most companies will say we're going to provide PPE for our workers. We'll provide welfare facilities for our workers. We will provide again, I say that with all the words this time, personal protective equipment for our workers. We provide a safe place of work, right? So it's like the vision, but it's the vision for safety. Tell me if you understand that, and we can move on to what this slide have in it. So if you read it now, you'll see what's the role of the policy. You see, it makes sense, and the policy provides focus for the organization in terms of health and safety. What's the focus? If you say you are going to put safety as your first priority, if you say today nobody gets hurt, well then that's your focus. If you say you're going to provide safe access egress, if you say you're going to provide safe plants and equipment, well then that's your focus, right? So the second point, it provides focus for an organization in terms of self-regulation. Anybody can say what is self-regulation? When you have a statement in the wall, when you tell yourself, you are going to study this year. If you do anything this year in 2024, you want to do your NEBOSH, right? If you say that to yourself, what is self-regulation? Extension. The back of my car. The trunk. Yeah. Anybody can say what is self-regulation? Just now, just give me 1 minute, huh? said that yeah, remember I said I'm actually at the office today alone, so anybody comes and just give me 1 minute again. I have to just deal with it. Yeah, all right. So yeah, I was saying anybody can say what is self-regulation. You all had 30 seconds to think about it. What is self-regulation? So yeah,
So,
go ahead. Thanks.
so self-regulation is basically something like ability you have to regulate yourself in doing things and having control over it. It's like if you have to get up and go to work in the morning, if you make a aim and a goal to do it, you have to make sure you do that within yourself and prove that within yourself that you accomplish your whatsoever you put your mind to do.
Very good. So well said. And I think that's what the policy is, a safety, because self-regulation means if Atlantic says, right? If Atlantic LNG, and I'm not just saying them, but another company, but we could say them because we use their tagline. If they say we will do the work safely or not at all, well then that's what they committed to. In other words, then they would have to wait for anybody to tell them what to do. So your example is perfect when you said if you said you're gonna get up early and have breakfast or make breakfast or go to work or whatever have you, right? And be on time, well then that's self-regulation. You don't have to wait for somebody to come and wake you up. You don't have to wait for that then, because you self-regulating yourself. If you said, like you want to I see 1 foot broken. You see it? Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Yeah. So like if you say something like that, right? You don't have to wait for somebody to come and wake you up, right? And if you say to like that we will get the job done or not, get the job done safely or not at all. What that means is that you're not waiting on OSHA then. You're not waiting on somebody to come and tell you that. Because you are doing it for yourself, right? So that's self-regulation. So the third point, the policy demonstrates visible management commitment to health and safety. And if you want to know, well, how is it visible? Well, we said that. The thing is, it is displayed. It is on your coverall. It's laminated in front of the company. So it's visible, right? Anybody, I was asking if anybody have seen one, because there's a reason for asking here. Like if you have seen the one that's displayed, because if you have seen it, there's actually something to the bottom of it. I don't know if anybody could probably guess what's to the bottom of it, but it have to do with that third point, that it does demonstrate visible management commitment. So anybody remember seeing what's at the bottom of that laminator one sheet? You want to make a guess?
I think it's the signature of the CEO or something of the company.
7. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go again.
I think it's the signature of the CEO of the company.
Very good. So that's excellent. So yeah, so the fact that the CEO signs it, right? The fact that the CEO signs it demonstrates that management is committed to it. Otherwise, why would they sign it, right? So there's also a commitment to continual improvement. And again, if you look at, could you go back to your book now and look at the management system they have there? You would see like it's cyclic. It's like you never really could say that you reach then. It's like a cycle, right? So after the policy, after you plan what to do, which is you want to have 0 accidents, right? You do your plan, you check up on your plan. If there's any room for improvement, you act on it, right? Review your performance, act on it, and you feed that back into the policy, right? It's like a good example. Let me give you a real example. If a company says you want to train 10 first aiders, that's their policy. The policy is training, right? So they will now organize to get the training done. So they'll do the training. See if you see that in the management system. Let me hold it up against the screen, right? So after you say, what is your plan? The plan is the policy to get training done. You will then go and do the plan. You will get the training done, right? Next thing you do, you check up on the training. Was it effective? You may have had a training evaluation form, right? And if there's anything to improve, you'd improve on it, right? Action, but this is fed back into the policy. So in a way, the management system leans towards then continual improvement, right? Now, folks, there aren't really no questions on that, on this here then, right? As yet, but we have to turn the slide to get to some better questions and stuff then, right? So tell me if you understand so far. So far, the first half of it have really been on what is this thing called the policy. What you need to understand is the policy is real, it's like a document. It's signed by management, it's displayed throughout the company, but in all of that, the policy is actually part of something bigger. The policy is actually part of a management system, right? So let's move on a bit. Trying to get the slides to move, right? Everybody okay? Everybody following 20-something persons, just one or two taking part though, right? All right, so if you go back to the page you're on, we're looking at the HSG 65 model, right? Something called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle. Plan, establish the standards for health and safety. We have been talking about that. Do, implement your plans. Check, measure the progress with the plans and compliance standards. Act, review against objectives and standards and take appropriate action. And again, I was saying that that's fed back into the plan, which is fed back into the policy, right? So here's what we need to do, right? There is, or there was, a past paper here. So we could pause again. The pausing is what, like I said, these things could finish in one session, right? But you know, at the end of the day, you have to pass an exam, right? And then we don't have the exam. We don't correct the exam. So it's always best to pause and think about what came before, right? So this was a question that came before. But let me tell you how it came and what I can do, I can try to describe it a bit. So today have two past papers, right? So remember I tell you last week, whenever you start a new chapter, it will have questions, but remember I only send one. So I don't want to send this one because what happened? When I describe this one to you, right? This only came once, but it is a question. So I don't know if you have your notebooks. We have mentioned to you to have a notebook. You should have a past papers now because knowledge is good. What we just said is good, but remember you can't pass with good. You have to pass with an exam, right? So we have to make it relevant back to exam, right? So let me tell you what happened here. If you have your books, you can look at 4 and 5. I'm on that same page as well, right? And let me tell you how it came. And then I would move on to the next thing, right? And when we turn this page, actually 2.1 is finished, right? So remember I said I could finish this today, but I don't want to. I want us to take our time and, you know, we could actually look at a past paper if we want to. Other than that, we could finish this in one day. Before the pandemic, chapter 2 was one day. The course is very much a short course. I think in places like London and stuff, some of those UK schools or institutes do it in just 5 days, you know. There's just 4 chapters, right? So if you take one chapter a day, that's like 5 days and they finish the course. But we have never done that in Trinidad, and we have never done it in Guyana either, right? But I'm just saying in the UK, because it's just 4 chapters, you can just take 5 days and do it, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last day for the project. That's how simple it is, right? But we do it over a longer period here. Anyway, I'm getting back to the point. So listen to how this past paper came, right? So remember this, right? Remember, it is an open book exam. So today, you don't have to study, right? You don't have to even learn PDCA. Like you don't have to learn that cycle then. You don't have to learn PDCA, right? But listen to how it came, right? Listen to how it come. What they did, you see what you're watching on page 5, those of us who have the book? See if you see page 5 or you're page 5, right? And if you don't have it, I'll describe it in a bit. But take a look at your page 5. What they did, right? They give you 10 statements, like 10 of the bullet points then, and they ask you to match it up or to match it back to PDCA. Wonder if you get to that. Let me try to show it on screen. They give you 10 statements. Like, you see these bullet points on them here? They give you that. And you had to match it back to the plan, do, check, act cycle. right? However, as I said, the question only came once. It didn't come back, right? But if you turn the page, there's another question, and that question repeats about 3 times, right? So just telling you, my job, I'm not Nostradamus, right? So I don't do much prediction. I'm just here to tell you what has come before, right? So in other words, then they give you a statement like I use in your textbook, right? Page 5. Those of us who, if you don't have it, just listen. So they said the organization should make plans. Well, they would not have said the word plan. I just said it for example, but they would have said the intended aim and objectives of the policy, right? In other words, then you had to match up where would you have put the aim and objective of the policy, right? Pretty easy because it is an open book exam. I'm trying to fit in the word aims here. So could I ask where would you put the aims of the policy? Like under which of the letters would you, well, not letters, but I mean, it's PDCA, but on the chart here is plan, do, check, act. So where would you put the aims of the management system? What does that fall? Planning, very good, right? So it wasn't
Planning.
hard. Plus, remember, so very good, those who said it's a very good. Remember, you all also have Google. So like to me, if anybody had any problems with it, they could have Googled it as well then, right? So let me do another one. I'm trying to find one. No, I could do it without the book, because in fact, they didn't use these on the book. They just made up statements, right? But I use in the book as you have your book, right? Okay, so I'll just use the obvious one, right? From page 5, investigating the causes of accidents, incidents, and near misses. Like, so where would you put that? Because I'm taking it from the book, you could follow and see what I'm doing, right? So I mean, if you wasn't looking at the book, right? Like, where would you put that? Investigating accidents, incidents, and near misses, right? So if you don't have your book, I take it, still give it a try. Where would you put investigating accidents, near misses, and incidents? Plan, do, check, or act?
Check.
Check, very good. So you see, I'm taking it from the book, but let me give you one now that's not in the book and see if I could figure it out, right? So, Nishon, there's no need for the question mark. You need to be confident, right? It's check. Because I've been taking it from the book and check is the heading, right? Okay, so let me give you one and think about the management system. Remember we said you plan what you're doing, that's your aim. It's like you plan to do NEBOSH. So that was always your goal then. But then you come to school, so then you're now doing it. You check up your performance via assignments and class participation and homework and stuff, right? If there's something not right, well, then you take action to improve. You put that back into your plan. So it's like that, right? Okay, so I'll shout some words and take your time. I'll show them because I'll give you one at a time. However, I'll only give you 3 for the most because remember, this is not a trending question. We pause because it did come, and I think it's right to pause, but we don't need to do more than 3. We already have one in the slide. We already did 2 already, right? So then that's 3 and 2, that's 5 already, right? So we don't need to do more than that because it's way to understand how a question came, right? All right. I'm trying not to give it, and you know what could be a help? Page 4 could be a help. Remember, it's an open book test, now. So you could use your book now, and you could use your book for exam too, right? Passing exams is pretty much easy. It's a bit long because it's a long day, you have to type, right? However, a lot of people who say it's long, remember, I don't know if you know, we have an interview with you all after the exam. A lot of students who say it's long, there are some people who say they submit 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, you have 24 hours. If you all forgot orientation, go back and listen to the video, right? Just now, I seen a student here, Dizan Warren. Now, she's not in this class. Yeah, we use the same meeting code. She's actually in another class, which I told them they didn't have. She's actually in a 1 o'clock class, but she doesn't even have class today, right? and it's on the group and it's on an email I sent to them. So I'm not going to admit that. Right? Yeah. Anyway, so I lost what I was saying. Yeah. Anyway, I was saying, remember, it's an open book test. So you could Google, don't feel ashamed to use a book. It's an open book test. But a lot of students, I was saying, a lot of people say they finish. Well, in fact, that's not true. It's half and half. There's some people who say they start and they finish by 4 o'clock. Right? But then there are those, like some people say they start 6 p.m. in the evening. The paper is available 6 a.m. in the morning. Why would you start 6 p.m. in the evening? Right? Then there are some people who say, well, we finish 2 a.m. But we ask, so like, were you always working? It's like, no, we were sleeping, or we took breaks in between. We went down to the mall, Gulf City Mall, Trinidad, of course, those in Guyana, probably, the Amazonia Mall. So they do a lot of stuff other than do the exam, right? But if you really sit to do it, you'll finish. It's not a hard exam, right? Anyway, listen to this statement, right? Tell me where you think this one goes, right? Performing a risk assessment. Where do you think that will fall? Listen to how I said it, right? Performing a risk assessment. Would it fall under plan, do, check, or act?
That'll fall under do.
Right? Okay. Anybody else that falls under do?
Act.
What?
Plan.
Did the rest of you all agree? I think it does. I think it falls under do. Right? Risk assessments fall under do. And if you have to get anything done, so that's, I was trying not to use the word do now. So that's what I said. Performing. I was going to say get a risk assessment done, but if I said done, it would have been a hint to do, right? All right. So I'll kind of keep using the word performing, or because if I use another word, like if I say something as it may give, a hint then. Okay, listen to this one. Conducting an internal risk assessment. Where does that fall? Sorry, not risk assessment. Conducting an internal audit. Where does that fall? Conducting an internal audit.
Check.
Check. Very good. Yeah. So you see, it's not hard. I remember, folks, remember you all have, you all ever saw that game show. Well, I don't see it anymore. You ever saw that game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You ever saw that on TV? There's everybody have seen that, right? And I guess the participants in that, they have a lifeline. You all have lifelines. Your lifeline is your textbook. Your lifeline, of course, is not me, right? Your lifeline is Google. Your lifeline could be a friend. Maybe you have a friend in safety. Make sure it's a good friend, right? That could give you some assistance, because all of those things are allowed. The only thing that's not allowed is copying from somebody else. But you by yourself, if you formulate any answers by yourself, you have all of these things that assist you, right? All right, one last one. I will move on. And page 4 is going to help you with this one. Learning from learning from an accident investigation. Learning from an accident investigation, not performing the accident investigation, but learning from the accident investigation. Where does that fall? Act. Very good. Okay. Okay, excellent. Okay, so well done, folks. Let's move on. So that was about 10-15 minutes there on a past paper, right? So very good. Linda and Harvard, just acknowledge those on the chat. Linda and Harvard. Just give me 1 minute, right? Yeah. Okay. So I told you today's a day like that, right? Okay. So I think we're okay with this. So let's move to the other page. And that is also going to change the slide a bit. Remember the other page, and if you turn it, tell me what you're seeing. Remember, tell it that's where it will end. When we first started, if you turn the page, you'll see why I mean end. when you turn to page 6, what you're saying? Before I turn my slide, like what it is you're saying? The most apparent thing on page 6 is what?
Yeah, ISO
Right, the ISO thing.
45001.
That's what I tell you, right? That's the bulk of it. But when I say the bulk, turn the page one page again. After page 6, turn to page 7 and tell me what you're seeing on page 8. What you seeing on page 8?
Case study.
Right, it finished. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So NEBOSH is not a long course, right? That we could have finished the whole thing today, but we'll take our time and breeze and do our passing. But that's the best way to do it, because you see, if I just teach, if I just read, we'll finish. But what did you get from it, right? That would be kind of wasting your time, and I mean, that's not good preparation for the exam, right? So we're gonna take our time and scrape the participles through. And folks, as I'm telling you, this course is deadly short. Right? When I checked the register, I told them when we started, we had 6 sessions already, right? That just goes, and by next week, you finish chapter 2. The other week is chapter 3. And here what? Chapter 4. If you had never opened your textbook, chapter 4 is short like this, right? Chapter 4 is not long enough. Chapter 4 is 2 sessions. Chapter 3 will take us a month, right? Given the fact that we'll be missing one of the Saturdays in June, right? So chapter 3 will take us like June into July. But remember, August is your exam. And that's good. Don't get frightened. Right? Remember, that's good because you want to get your cert, you want to get the NEBOSH cert, you want to be competitive, right? Yesterday I had someone in my office, and he was telling me, a past student of mine, I will call his name because I have somebody here that know him, right? The guy name is Barrett, Krishnanath Barrett. And he was telling me that Krishnanath Barrett is in Qatar, working for about 150,000 TT, more than that. That is giving you the end of it, right? TT for the month, right? So people end up with NEBOSH. Remember, NEBOSH is not Costa. We keep saying that, right? And no offense to Costa. Again, the reason why I pick on Costa is because my first degree is from Costa. I have 3 degrees, right? One of them is from Costa. So if you find you hear me talk about, it's not because I'm picking on Costa, right? I have a Costa degree. I graduated first in the country with it, but I couldn't find nothing to do with it. How many years later, maybe 20 years later, I still can't find nothing to do with it. I still have gotten nothing to do with my Costa degree. No offense to them. I'm telling you, this is my experience, and I have a Costa degree. So, but NEBOSH is not that. NEBOSH opens the door for you in Trinidad, because we see it in the vacancies, in Guyana, we see it in the vacancies, in Canada, in the UK, and around the world. It does not expire, right? It's not like a 2-year certificate. Once you get it, you don't have to come back and do it. If you want to do it over, you're kind of wasting time. But once you have it for life, right? Anyway, let's go to the next slide. So the next slide, I was telling you, so you see how short the course is. So you all are, which is a good thing. You get to earn it. And then those of us who want to move on, you can move on to our NEBOSH diploma, move on to do another NEBOSH course, right? Anyway, I'm taking it from here. Let's read this one first, and I'll kind of point back to something in the book, right? So ISO 45001. So this standard was inspired by OSAS 18001. That's what they pronounce those letters there, OSAS. And it aimed to help organizations ensure the health and safety of people who work for their organizations. ISO 45001 is internationally recognized, coherent, it's aligned and fully integrated with the other ISO standards, especially with the quality management standard and environmental management systems. And that's what I had in the first slide. The environmental is ISO 14001 and quality is 9001, right? Now, if you don't understand what it means by fully integrated, you don't have to, but I can tell you, because it's not a hard explanation, fully integrated means they look the same way. 14,001 looks just like this. 9,001 looks just like this. In other words, the only difference between a safety management system and a quality management system is that the policy that you make is for safety. So you say safety is my first priority. But if it was quality, you would have said quality would have been of our first or our highest importance. The only difference is how you phrase it, because one is safety and one is quality. So they are fully integrated, meaning what you do for one is what you do for another one. In other words, then, a company that's ISO 9001 would be easier to get certification for 14,001 or 45,001, because the elements are the same. The only difference is that you are tweaking it to safety, or you are tweaking it to quality, or you are tweaking it for the environment, but it's the same system, right? Anyway, that's not our course, right? So we're just going back to this now. So in your book on page 6, if you look at it, they have attempted to draw the ISO model. Now, I didn't like it, so I put a better one here for you. If you look at that one in the book, what's wrong with the one in the book? Anybody can say what's wrong with the one in the book? What's the first thing you find that's wrong with that? Not sure. That's not right. No, just give. So you take a minute and think about what's wrong with this, right? Just give me half a second here. Right, anyone? What do you think is wrong with that one in the textbook? At a first glance, like what do you see?
I find it's vague, there's not much information.
Okay, good. Anybody else though? Okay, like you don't find the writing in this is very, very small? Or is it just me? You don't find like it very, very like why did you put the writing so small in that, you know? Anyway, I did a better one for you. I got this one from the ISO site itself, right? So what I would advise you all to do, is if you could print this. You see how I blew this up on the slide here? If you could print this as a whole page, right? And you know, I'm not just telling you that for a joke. Remember, I tell you there's a past paper here, right? So I'll tell you why you need to print it. So print it, put it in your notebook as a whole slide, right? The reason is this, right? The reason is on the other page, page 7, right? So if you look at page 7, having shown you the ISO diagram, plan, do, check, act, right? If you want, you could take a look at it, but we look at the inside of it in a bit, right? The next thing on page 7 is the benefits. Let me try to get this slide to go a bit, right? It's the benefits of a formal certified management system. So we could stop here a bit before we read this, because this is the past paper question, right? So what most past papers come on, if you want to write it, what is the idea of it? What most past papers come on? They would say something like, remember, you'll get a case study, right? So they'll say something like the company, whichever company they use, right? So the company is planning on getting ISO certification 45,001. And then the past papers go on to say, well, what are the benefits? Like, what would you tell your CEO? What would you tell the company? What would you tell the directors would be the benefits of the company becoming ISO 45,001 certified? So they all write that down. So the question is, what are the benefits of a company becoming ISO certified? Now you could actually just Google that, which is good, but I'll try to tie it in for you in a bit, right? So after you finish writing down that, what are the benefits? It's actually the heading in the textbook, and it's actually the heading here too. So if you didn't write it, you didn't write it. But the thing is, it is a past paper. That's what I'm telling you, that most of the questions ask what are the benefits, or what would you tell your CEO? What arguments would you use to convince your directors that they should become ISO certified, right? So tell me when you finish writing that. I want to show you two things. Because remember this chapter done, you know? We're just talking about past papers now. We all know what ISO is. It is a management system. It's like the PDCA cycle. The first thing in it is policy. All management systems start with policy, right? So when you finish writing that, I want you to do something in the textbook for me. And then we're coming back to this slide. It will just take you 30 seconds, right? So what I want you to do, right? If you finish writing that, I want you to check your book on page 7 and tell me how many benefits are you seeing? Because how much marks do you get for a NEBOSH question? Like, what's the least amount of marks you can get? Anybody want to make a guess? Adnan, Joshua, Desiree, Kimberlina. Anybody, like how much marks do you get for a NEBOSH question?
I
2?
think the minimum is 3 or 3 if I'm not wrong.
Anybody else?
Or 10.
10. 10 is the minimum, right? 10 is the minimum. You remember that? The only problem you need to go, folks, is on the yeah, so 45 is the pass mark, but you know, like one question that normally carries about 10 marks minimum. You can get a question that is worth 20 marks. So what I wanted you to see, and I'm trying to make a point, the point is this. I'm trying to make a point, right? The point is this. But I'll explain it to you just now, right? So if we know the minimum they'll ask is 10, right? The question I ask you all is to check your book, because there's only 2 persons answer there. So the rest of you always checking your book. So how many points do you see in your textbook then? How many points, how many benefits have you seen?
More or less 1 or 2 as the case may be.
Yeah, 1 or 2 or 3. In other words, then this half a page here doesn't have 10 benefits. This half a page here does not have 10. But I mean, if you get 3 or 4 or 5, but it do have 10. I can say that for sure. It doesn't have 10. Actually, I've never really stopped to check it because the key is this chart. So the other answer then, when I just said it, well, where do you get 10 benefits from? Well, number one, I have it on this slide. So you can get it from me. But where did I get it from? Did I just make it up? The thing is, no, I didn't make it up, right? What I did, right? See if I understand this. That's why I tell you this chart is very important. You see, the chart is the benefits. See if you can understand that. The chart, what's some of the words now? What's some of the words now? Watch it now. Leadership and worker participation. Support. Performance evaluation. What's some of the words now? Let's go into it. Leadership and commitment. Setting the health and safety policy. Let's look at some of the other words, right? Procurement. Contractors. Emergency preparedness and response. Internal audits. Incident non-conformity and corrective action. Let's come to this one. Determining the scope of the occupational health and safety policy. Sorry, management system. In other words, then, what you can do to get the benefits. Did anybody see it? You can take these words and twist them and tweak them into a benefit. If they say, what are the benefits of Demas oil? I'm just using Demas here, right? Becoming ISO certified. You can say, now remember, you will have a case study. So you can say the benefit is that if Demas oil becomes ISO certified, there'll be a greater focus on leadership and worker participation. The chart is the benefits. The chart, the elements of ISO is the benefits. Otherwise, why you putting these things in order, right? Remember what, I don't know if you know what, to become certified, you have to put these things in order. Like you have to put these things in a folder. You have to do them then and put them in a folder for an auditor to come and see. So like a benefit of ISO certification is that there'll be a greater competence through the company. There'll be greater contractor management. So each of these words could be tweaked into a benefit. So I'm forgetting that a bit. Let me try one that everybody could probably relate to. Let me see. Well, we did policy, which is this one here, 5.2. So a company, Demas, or a makeup company from your case study that is going to be ISO certified, they will have a policy. Remember that's when we started today's class? You cannot be ISO certified because remember the first thing in PDCA, this is under planning. The first thing you do is that you plan your policy. So you would never reach the stage in an audit then where you apply for an audit and you don't have a policy. So the fact that you're preparing, the fact that you say a company wants to become ISO certified, a benefit is that then they will have a policy. What's the policy of the company? What does the policy have in it? Tell me what we said for the morning. The policy have what in it? The
Vision
policy
of the
have,
company.
say it again, the policy have the
Vision of the company.
very good. It have the vision. So so you see what you're doing. So see, this is why it's called tertiary education. Nothing here is just straight from the textbook. Tertiary is all about learning, it's about understanding. So you say a benefit of the company becoming ISO certified is that they will have developed the policy. Now, this would enable all the workers to know the vision, the aim, the mission of the company for health and safety. And maybe in the case study, remember you have to quote from the case study. Maybe in the case study, the workers did not know a certain policy. So then you can say this is in the case study where the two technicians did not know the current policy, but if the company becomes ISO certified or is going towards certification, the company would have developed the policy and informed the employees of the policy. Remember how I said that NEBOSH normally say, see if I wrote what I wanted you all to write. Remember I told her to write something down. Remember I said the participle will come on. You will have to say what arguments. The participle say what are the benefits and what arguments would you put forward to convince the CEO and the directors of the company should become ISO certified. Right? Let me just do one for you as well. Let me choose one for you. How about emergency response? That's an easy one. That's like a drill then, right? Emergency preparedness and response. So you say, I just using Demas. So no offense to Demas. I actually know the safety man inside there. So that's probably why. But I could use anybody. I'm going to use Atlantic, right? Next thing y'all go back and tell Derek Bean that I call any company here, right? So so we use Atlantic, right? So so you can say, and I'm just saying this was a participle. So let's say it was a gas company. So you can see a benefit of Atlantic LNG becoming ISO certified is that there'll be a greater emphasis on emergency preparedness and response, and that the workers will know what to do in the event of an alarm going off. Full stop. And you can say in the case study, it was seen where the workers did not know where to go. However, if they are planning on becoming ISO certified, drills would have been conducted, the workers would have been informed of such, and it would have been recorded. So then the benefit is there's a greater emphasis on emergency preparedness and response. Tell me if you get it. So that's what I tell you. Print the chart. I didn't tell you print the chart for joke, because, because I want to do that. This question came back 3 times. The benefits of ISO certification, the benefits of ISO certification, right? Folks, we actually finished now. So what I could do, we can touch on past paper briefly. Now, in my mind, right now, well, when I said 3, right? But there have been 3 different sort of past papers here. There have been one on this one. Remember we spoke about this one? Where they give you the words, and then you had to match it. Then there's another one like that. I think we look at that one, right? And then there's one like this, which is the benefits. So here what? You could read out this. Okay, the rest of it is a reading exercise, right? It's about 5 past 10. We could probably look at a past paper, right? I'll read 1 or 2 words for you, right? So the benefits increase access to contracts and tendering requirements. Yes, that's a benefit of ISO. Once you get the license, you get like a certificate then, right? It increases the reputation of the company as a safer company. Companies that boast we are ISO certified That's like me saying I am accredited with NEBOSH. Not everybody could do that. Again, SBCS cannot say that. SAMs cannot say that. So like that's our claim to fame then. Like a company saying we are ISO certified is good. And I saying I am NEBOSH accredited or ACCTT registered and approved, then that's a claim to fame because it is like a license then, right? So then that is good for you all. Better organization of health and safety from policy formulation to management review. Look and see what I did here. Better organization of putting stuff in place of the health and safety policy. What I did? From policy formulation to management review. I could have rewritten that and said better organization from policy formulation to continuing improvement, but I stopped it halfway. From policy through all of this to management review. So you can make up your own, right? That's what tertiary education is all about. You understand that you can do what you want to do. You could just take any of these and make a benefit out of it. You can take improvement. You can take even the first word, understanding the context of the organization, that you are an oil and gas company, or you are a restaurant, or that you are a puri shop or a roti shop, a puri shop in Guyana, right? Roti shop in Trinidad, right? So what is the context of your organization? We are not a large gas manufacturing company, but we are small hardware, right? So a benefit is that the ISO auditors would not judge you like a big company, but they'll judge you based on the context of your organization. That's a benefit. Understand? So please print this. You know why I'm saying that? You all understand? You all know why I'm saying please print this? Other than the exam question? Listen to the reason why I'm telling you print it, huh? Because people don't print it. Yeah, students don't print it. Anyway, you spending your money. I want you to pass, but I cannot pass for you. All I can do is tell you, please print it, right? You are spending your money, right? You're spending your time. You want to pass. I want you to pass too, right? I want you to pass and be like everybody else who working and who have a good career and who, in a different country, wherever have you, migrate to Canada, you're still, your NEBOSH is still recognized. COSTAT would not be, right? But NEBOSH would be. All right, let me just read two more for you. I want to show you a part, and because you pass, if I want to show you the one I want to give you for homework now, so I don't want to do all of it, right? I'm just gonna pull two other benefits. Okay, so it reduces work-related injury, ill health, and death. Well, this is the one straight from the chart. Develop and implement the occupation and health and safety policy and occupation and health and safety objectives. Reduces occupation and health and safety risk. I think if you do that, you're going to have less accidents, so therefore reduce insurance premiums. In short, I told you I had it on the slide. However, if you go to take my answers from the slide, please integrate it into the passage because that could be seen as plagiarism. If 20-something are you all write what I have on my slide, oh wait, now Vincent get bumped out, then that is plagiarism, right? So you can take it, but you can't take it. You can take it, but you have to integrate it. You have to find your way to say it. Like if it's risk, you have to say, in my opinion, a benefit of and you call the company K&G Hardware becoming ISO certified is that it would lessen the risk that the company faces. It may improve on the company doing risk assessments. You put a full stop and then you said, in the case study, it was seen where the risk assessment was not updated in the last 10 years. But you said that, so you're saying what you saying, you're just taking my thought, but you put in words behind it, right? Remember, if you write it back like this, right, would you get any marks for this? If you write it back like that, would you get any marks? The answer is no. I think I'd shown you all an exam paper. If not, let me show you one now, if I could find it. Yeah, what I find in somebody's paper. I uploaded. This thing is Zoom is so kind of limited on what we can share. Let me see what I did here. All right, I'll show you our students. Or should I do that? Let me see, Anderson. It's here now, but I have to go and open back the file. In other words, then, for those of us who know, Zoom doesn't show too much of stuff on the same screen. But let me show you somebody paper, I guess. Right? So this is Ram Singh Voodoo Sing, yes. It sounds like that song. If you all know that song. If not, that's if you're from Guyana, you probably know it more than those of us from Trinidad, right? So you put your name, you put your NEBOSH will give you a student number, Ramsing. You put the name of the school, Shadrach Safety Institute Company Limited, center number 906, including if you're in Guyana, you have to put the same thing, because that's the accredited school, that's the accredited number, right? So there was a question here on the policy. So I could give it the same paper. I just had to try to find what question it was, though. I wonder if I'm mistaken. No, not mistaken. Right? So it was actually number 6. Right? So what I mean, I could find the question. Let me find the question paper for you now, right? Let me find the question paper for you. Could you see a question paper in your view screen now? Or you're not seeing it still? Are you seeing NEBOSH Management of Health and Safety, NG1?
Yes, sir. We see it.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Right, okay. Let me find a way now to bring this bigger. You see, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that with Zoom is an app that's already open on another app. So you have to find a way to maneuver one app instead of the other app. All right. So this was the May paper. I'm gonna give you all this to do the same question. We're gonna take a look at Ramsing paper too. Don't you just hear that chatting in the background? Anyway, for those of us who know. Anyway, so I was asking you all, if you write in short points, if you just take my points, would you get any marks? The answer is no, right? So you can see that here. The marks available are shown in brackets to the right of each question. This is on every exam paper or part of each question. This will help guide you to the amount of information you are required in your response or information required in your response. In general, 1 mark is given for each correct technical point that is clearly demonstrated. Avoid writing too little, as this would make it difficult for the examiner to award marks. Difficult means they're not going to give you the mark if you're writing short, like how it is on the PowerPoint. You can take that, but you have to integrate it into the case study then. You have to say, in my opinion, a benefit is reduced insurance premiums, right? In the case study, it was mentioned that there was an accident and the HSE is going to investigate, right? This may result in a higher insurance premium in the long run. Therefore, a benefit of the company becoming ISO certified is a reduction in insurance. If you do it like that, you get a mark. If you just put it reduce insurance premiums, it's correct, but you get no marks. Please take a note of this. The only reason you would not know this is if you're not writing it down, and if you're not going back and listening to the videos. To the end of the course, some people say, how I feel. You get 35. How I feel. When you watch your work, half a line, half a line, half a line. Right? The only reason you would fail is if you didn't write down what I just tell you, or you're not looking back at the videos. Anyway. All right, let's go down. We go down to, so the case study is not long. Now, I wouldn't read the case study because this is I'll give you this to do tonight. I'll assign this to you tonight, right? So the case study is about 2 pages long. This is 1 page there, 2 pages there. It's not longer than that. You see, it's not longer than 2 pages. When you all did CXC English or comprehension in secondary school, some of them comprehension was longer than that. Some of those comprehension that you all did in secondary school, if you remember being in Form 5, it was longer than that. Yes, CXC paper, the English paper 1 had some very long comprehensions. You probably can't remember. And there's another reason why you can't remember. But I wouldn't say that reason here, right? Anyway, this is a question, right? So this was the question. We'll see what Ramsing put forward. The revised general policy statement for Northern Mill reads as follows. So this is the statement of intent. This is what you're finding in front of Northern Mill. This is what you're finding in front of Flow. This is what you're finding in front of Guyana Power and Light. This is the statement. When you come in the building, by the way, have you ever seen, I was in the office, I was just right up there. I didn't think it make them out. Those things up there, that's the policy. The next time you come, you should probably read it. because it's the front of every company, right? Anyway, this is Northern Mill Zone, right? So the best of our ability, we commit to preventing accidents, near misses, injury, and ill health, investigating accidents and near misses, providing safe and healthy working conditions. This sounds good, eh? Anybody could copy this and they could use this or not. This is actually a good one. If you don't have one, you could use this one. And a real company, I mean. Providing safe and healthy working conditions. Providing safe plant and equipment, setting and reviewing the health and safety objectives, identifying health and safety hazards and risks in the workplace, providing adequate training, providing health and safety information to workers, involving workers, the provision of resources required to make this policy and arrangement effective. So that's what they say. That's the policy, that's the laminate, right? Listen to the question. NEBOSH is asking, to what extent has this policy been implemented over the past 6 months? Note, your answers must be based on the scenario only. How much marks? Quickly, how much marks?
16, sorry.
How much answers you have to give?
16.
16 answers, right? So, here's the thing, right? How would you go about doing this question? Let me say it again. They give you a statement of intent, which is what you're looking at, and they ask you now, to what extent has the policy been implemented over the past 6 months? So they give you the policy, but they ask you now for you to say, how has it been implemented over the last 6 months? What do you think you have to do for that question before I tell you? Or before we see Ramsing people? What do you think you have to do? What do you think you could do? Like, what's a format to answer in that question?
So you could like categorize which is planning, which one on the planning, which one on the doing, which one on the acting. Then you could
It
proceed
could,
from there.
but they didn't really ask for that. They asked to what extent. It's kind of like let's say this is your company, right? Wherever your company, it's kind of like you're watching your company statement, but then you're thinking, wait now, they don't always do that. They don't always investigate accidents and incidents. Frank fell down last week and nobody investigated that. So that's what they're asking here. To what extent, right? So what you have to do, anybody want to have one try at it again, is only 12 minutes past 10. So what you have to do, you have to go back to
the scenario, refer to it and read it.
Yeah, you have to read the case study then and see if what they say here is what they actually doing then. You understand that? It's a case of like, it's a case like measuring up. It's like if they say prevent accidents and near misses, you have to read in the case study if they was doing that. Now, if they was, what you have to say is, in my opinion, the policy that said prevent accidents, near misses, and injury was implemented effectively over the past 6 months. You understand that? Let me do another one for you. If they say provide adequate training, you see, what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of companies do this. It's like there's a disparity between what they say and what they do. So NEBOSH is asking you to kind of weigh it up then, apples and apples, not apples and onions, right? Apples and apples. So this is what they say they're going to do. But have they done this? So let's take a read of that one. Let's probably go to that one. This one on investigating accidents and near misses. Let's see if they do it. Or if they do it, we have to say it. We have to say, in my opinion, that they did it. Let's see what happened here, right? So we can just go with the head and we could spot read. Now, you're not supposed to spot read. I am against time. So I'm spot reading, right? So a week later, one of the new factory workers is assigned the task of transferring a large order of textile from the knitting area to the vessel in the dyeing area. Supervisor R tells the new factory worker that because of an error with the delivery date of this order, they need to speed up as this needs to be completed as soon as possible. Supervisor R is due to finish their shift in 15 minutes, but wants to leave early to attend a personal event. They tell the new factory worker that the next supervisor due on shift, Supervisor S, is probably around somewhere. So Masha Chatterjee. But these people attend the wrong class today. Masha is in this class. Masha. Then who would enter class 15 minutes past 10? I don't think Masha, you're laughing. I don't think Masha is in this class. Name doesn't ring a bell. The name doesn't ring a bell at all. I mean, I know she's one of my students, but Masha is not in this class. Masha is not in the next class either. So I don't know where Masha trying to join it. Anyway, all right. Let me read on, right? So anyway, so yeah, the next supervisor, I don't know if you ever kept on reading, right? So the next supervisor is probably around somewhere. So they are fine to get on with the task. Remember the statement of intent. So maybe we could go down a bit. So you see what you have to do is a lot of reading, right? When I say go down, and they go down, just see the question was, did they really satisfy the thing of investigating accidents and near misses? That's the third one, right? Or the second one? No, second one, right? Investigating accidents and near misses. So what I'll do, I'll spot read, right? Spot read meaning I wasn't going to read all that. I was going to read there for you all. So we can search for it then, right? So we can come through here, could read through that. Because we want to see if they investigated the accident. Okay, let's probably get down here, right? So this is what happened, but we want to see if they investigated, right? So the new factory worker risk has become entangled in the textiles, and they cry out as they are pulled forward. Just in time, Supervisor S presses the emergency stop button on the machine and manages to free the new factory worker before they are injured. Supervisor S calls. Kevin, you can answer a call for me? I just tell him I'm here to come, right? This guy just cut the grass by the lawn. Yeah. Supervisor S calls over, Supervisor S calls over to the other factory worker, telling them to close down this machine to prevent it from being used until further notice. The new factory worker is visibly distressed. Supervisor S uses a two-way radio to ask the owner to supervise the factory floor while they take the distressed new factory worker to the empty meeting room to calm down. As the first aider on shift, Supervisor S checks the worker risk for any injury. The new factory worker is not physically injured, only shocked by the event, so they are sent home to recover. But we want to see if they investigate. So you see the kind of reading you have to do, right? Is over and over again. Supervisor S returns to the factory floor to carry out and record the near-miss investigation with the help of the owner. So what do you think? Did they do it or did they not do it? Yes. So that's what you have to see. So that's what we're looking for. That's the magic line. This one here is the magic line, right? So you'd have to play back the recording if you're not writing it. Listen to what I'm telling you. You have to say, in my opinion, I believe that the policy statement investigating accidents and near misses was implemented over the past 6 months. Full stop. Then he said, this could be seen where Supervisor S, and you can quote the direct line. You could quote the direct line. Don't be afraid. You can quote it from the passage. You can quote and say where he returned to the factory floor to carry out and record the near-miss investigation with the help of the owner. Tell me what you think. It's measuring up apples and apples, but you have to find those lines, right? What takes the time with a NEBOSH open book exam is the same thing that take the time with a comprehension. It's finding the line. And you could do what I did. You don't have to read from the top of it to the bottom of it. Sorry. Yeah. Just let them come upstairs. Okay. Yeah. I forget them iPhone and them have this lock in it. Yeah. I didn't. Anyway, let's look at Ramsing paper. Back to Ramsing. Let's see what you said for the second point, right? So Ramsing said, but look at the length of it. And is this length good? Let's take a look. Right? It said here, base, Kevin. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Based on the scenario, Supervisor S, with the help of the owner, returned to the factory floor to carry out and record a near-miss investigation. In my opinion, this indicates that the policy objective of investigating accidents and near misses has been effectively implemented. Do you think he will get the mark for this? Do you think he will get the mark for this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Right? He would. That's why I open Ramsing people earlier. I could open somebody who did a bad one, but he did a good one. Look at the length of it. Is it rocket science he's doing? He's not doing rocket science. NEBOSH exam is not hard to pass. The catch is though, did he come up with 16? He did. The other catch, how could you come up with 16 if it only have, if you go back and you check them, right? How could he come up with 16? Anybody could give me the answer for that? How could he come up with 16? Because they didn't have 16 here. How could you come up with 16? And I'll start to mark the rule when you all have the answer for that. How could you get 16? It's an easy answer. It's an easy question. How could you get 16?
So he
What
got
would you
to
do?
create the other points them and act upon the in the case study.
No, you can't create anymore because what the answers must be based on the scenario only, and you only have to use this here. So how could you get 16? It's an easy thing to ask you. Yeah, but you can't create any more policy. You can't create more than what you're seeing on the slide.
Understood.
Anybody else? How could you get 16? You have to do what with them? You have to use them.
More than once?
Yeah, they use them more than once. Yeah, you see, some of them you could use it more than once. What just one? Preventing accidents, preventing near misses, injury, and ill health. That's like 4 things there. They're defined like if there was another injury there, right? You could use it more than once. So, like there may be more than one place where they did provide safe plant. Plant and equipment is something different. Plant is a facility or equipment is something else. It's like if the machine was unsafe, which I think is what happened, well, you can say in your opinion, they did not, whatever, right? So you could use it more than once. Provide training, it could be more than one. You have to use it more than once. Think you get it till you make the 16.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Yep. You see, this come like the bar then. This come like the bar. But the bar only serving banks. Those of us in Guyana would understand, right? Or the bar in Trinidad, but banks is good, right? But the bar you go to only serving Heineken and Carib, right? If you can't get a stand. So you just have to keep coming back for what they have now. Right? You have to drink what they have. You can't make up a drink. You can't just go to the bar and mix a drink. Some bars you could, but probably not, right? But you have to drink what they're giving you. So this is what the bar have. You cannot make up your own point. If you keep coming back to the bar, you keep coming back to the bar, but you cannot make up your own drinks then, right? Folks, that's a wrap. Right? Let me stop the recording. We're going to stop here for today, right? Once you hear your name, you say present and you could leave. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Remember, I have other classes, hence the reason I cannot suddenly email you then. I have to wait till all my classes are finished. And then later on tonight, I would